and thank you for being here. I'm passing through Uganda for a few days to visit my husband, Dr. Kizza Besigye, in Luzira prison. I'm on my way back now. I visited him 2 times. I am angry at his situation. Dr. Kizza Besigye is 69 years old. He was abducted in November from Kenya. That was a breach of international law and national law. Brought across the border and thrown before the military court. He's a civilian. We challenged that in court. The Supreme Court ruled that he should not be tried. No one should be tried. No one who's a civilian should be tried by the military. He was not released. There was an order to transfer his matter before the civilian courts, but he had first to go on hunger strike because he was being held with no charge before his case was brought before the civilian courts. It's 6 months now. He has applied for bail. He has been denied bail. He has now applied for mandatory bail. It's a right. He's been in jail for more than 180 days. And the courts are playing games and will not give it to him. Every rule in the book seems to be broken when it comes to Dr. Kizza Besigye. His rights as a human being are being violated. In the prison where he is, this is a man who's 69. He is locked up in a tiny cell that has a little kamori. Up, doesn't bring in enough light. He's only allowed into a small space that's about a half of this size. This small area we are in. It is concrete, cement. There are no chairs there. That small place is where they eat from, where they cook from. About 15 other prisoners there with him. The 15 others are suspected to be terrorists, to be from ADF. They have denied that. Some of them have been in that prison for more than 10 years. 10 years. They've never been in court. They were just dumped there and forgotten there. Those are the prisoners he's with, all on remand, some for 10 years. He cannot go to the other spaces where other prisoners are, like when they are going to pray, the church, even on Christmas Day. He couldn't join other prisoners to pray. He cannot, they get some entertainment, other prisoners. He cannot go anywhere. He has to go in the prison. He's accompanied by 2 guards. The 2 guards have to make sure that Dr. Besigye doesn't speak to any other prisoner. He is not allowed. Recently, something funny even happened. The guard was guarding him while he's talking to his visitors. Then the guard wanted to go to the toilet, and he stopped the conversation with the visitor and took him with him to accompany him to the toilet, and then returned him to continue talking with his visitor, because he cannot leave him alone in the prison just in case he might talk to another prisoner. He had to escort the guard to the toilet. That is how tightly controlled he is. Dr. Besigye has been in this tiny cell, and now he has been attacked by bed bugs. Bed bugs are biting him night and day. It is inhuman what they are doing to him. It is violation of his rights, his human rights, violation of the laws of Uganda. But now I want to emphasize, underline that Dr. Besigye is not there because he stole anything, he was corrupt, he's accused of corruption, or he owes a debt, or he murdered someone. No, he's there for political reasons. He's being criminalized, not the first time. He's being criminalized because he has challenged and has put forward himself as a candidate in elections. And we are in election time. If it was just about him personally, it would be bad enough. But the fact that it's political, and he's not the only one, that many other political activists are also languishing in jail there, makes it a matter for everyone. It's a political question. It's about contestation. It's about whether or not Ugandans are allowed to have different points of view, to choose their leaders, to field whoever they want. That is the issue. That is why Dr. Besigye is there. I am angry because as my family member, he's being persecuted. He's being denied bail. I'm demanding for bail for him. Our lawyers are. We want the matter of his bail to be heard, and heard soon, and he needs to be back home in healthy conditions, in human conditions, as he answers that case that is framed against him. Let me also say that on the political side, without being partisan, I am not talking for the opposition, I'm not talking for the government, I'm just speaking as a Ugandan. We need a predictable, transparent, democratic process to change leadership. We have a leader who is a historic figure. He's been there for 40 years. He did great things. He turned this country around when we were having horrible elections. Our economy was sinking. He challenged that. We followed him. And we turned the country around. We did. Some people want to say to rewrite the history. They are wrong. We did. We restored many things. We had a process that brought us a new constitution, a consultative process. We empowered people through LCs. We were calling them RCs. We brought women, youth, people with disabilities into political process to participate, to have a voice. The economy was turned around. We arrived here when there was no sugar in the shops, nothing. Brought back Indians, restored manufacturing, and many good things happened. But today, we are back in a political stalemate. And my plea to President Museveni is that he rises again. He's an old man. He can protect his legacy, the good things he did, by securing a transitional process, leading a transitional process that brings us to new leadership peacefully. We don't deserve violent elections again. We don't want to go back to 1980, but that's where we have gone. So my plea to President Museveni is, talk to your opposition, don't criminalize them, talk to them. My plea is, restore us to the rule of law and the democratic path. Ensure a free and fair election. These things are not hard. Now, I want to say that if we do not do this, the real victims of a flawed political process, a violent political process, are our young people. Today, they are the ones who really break my heart. When I see thousands, my own nephews and nieces, children I know, or the young people I see on the streets expressing their frustration. They are out there without a future. Unemployment amongst our young people up to the age of 24 who are university graduates is at 83%. 83% of them are without a job and without a future. Every year, Uganda puts into the market 700,000 young people. Out of those, only 90,000 get jobs. The rest don't know what is there for them. Suspended future. How can we change this if we do not have a way to bring in leaders who are serious, who have a plan for how to create jobs for our young people? If we must hang on and in uncertainty, who is going to keep investing in this economy? We are seeing money leaving our country. I was in Kenya the other day. I was so shocked to hear in the real estate market that Ugandans are now the leading investors in real estate in Kenya. Buying up apartments, Why? Because they don't feel confident. They are uncertain about the future here. Money is going out. Our civil servants, people in the public offices, are stealing more and more. The corruption is going up because also of uncertainty about the future. Investments are not coming in. Civil servants are stealing. I'm not saying the only reason is because of uncertainty, but certainly it drives the desire to divert resources. Corruption is costing us $2.5 billion every year. $2.5 billion. It's estimated that 25% of our national budget is diverted in corruption, taking services away from people, health, education. So we are at a moment where we need to break out of this cycle of bad politics, slower growth, rising unemployment, rising corruption, impunity because all these people are part of a patronage system and cannot be touched. So we have impunity for corruption. So we need to break out of that. And it is leadership that will help us. It is President Museveni who can help us to change that. And I appeal to him. Free Dr. Besigye, free your political opponents, talk to them, dialogue with them, reform the laws, ensure a process of changing leaders that will secure your legacy. That is what I want to say. I want to then also talk about HIV/AIDS and say that on this front, I want to say that the whole world is disrupted, particularly Africa, because of the funding cuts by the American government that happened in February. But I want to say that while this was disruptive because of the immediacy, the fact that it happened suddenly without notice. I love birds. I want to say that I'm seeing efforts by governments across Africa to fill that gap that was created, and that's good. Uganda too is trying very hard to fill the gap. But we still see that it's very challenging because in terms of our budgets, we are having to pay high interest rates on the debt. That's taking away resources. And then we have other challenges like low domestic revenue mobilization. We have disasters that happen all the time because of climate change. So our countries are challenged, but yet must reallocate to save lives. I thank the government of Uganda because there was an immediate response to reallocate. I also see other governments in the region doing the same. That's good. We have to save lives, but we must also protect. We must put money in prevention also. And there are good medicines coming that will help to prevent HIV. So on that front, I encourage the government to continue path of reprioritizing and saving lives. I want to stop my discussion here and we shift away from the rain and I take your questions. Would that be okay? Thank you. I think it changed. It's increasing.
I would imagine that you have the connections. People who are once you know President Museveni very well, you have quite a lot of leadership. Have you, at a personal level, tried to initiate talks, or have you tried to approach his contemporaries to talk to him? Because I see there have been a lot of appeals to the media, but are there other mechanisms of you trying to get to the president? And then
thank you for your question. You're right that Besigye's imprisonment is political. He has not committed a crime. He's really there for political reasons. This is about the contest, about the political transition. So it needs to be solved politically. The courts will not solve it. The courts are being used to keep him in prison. And you can see that since they arrested him up to now, it's 6 months, they've not even been able to try him. They've been investigating endlessly. Yes, I have talked to some people who are in the executive branch and encouraged them to have a political dialogue. I have talked to some. And I also see that there are many governments that are also trying to encourage President Museveni to find a political solution and not to criminalize. So, yes, we are trying. We are going to keep arguing for urging President Museveni to have a dialogue and not to criminalize, not just Dr. Besigye, all other political prisoners, and there are many.
Thank you very much. My name is Jackson Number. I work for NTV. Yes, we're talking about political dialogue, and you have said this is actually political persecution. So my question would be, what should be the shape and nature of this dialogue? Because we know in the past.
What's important is it doesn't matter the form, really. It can take any form, but it's important that a dialogue sets clear objectives. Why the dialogue? We need a dialogue because we have slipped off the democratic path. We made a constitution, we have electoral laws, but they've continued to change the constitution, change the electoral laws in ways that have led to this kind of violence, and actually we're moving away from the rule of law. We don't even respect the rules we make. So we need to have a dialogue to restore us on the path of on some reforms that will make elections truly fair and able to deliver the outcomes of people that people want, to reflect the will of the people. We need to have a discussion around the role of the military and the security forces in elections, because much of the violence is driven by the security agencies. We need to have a dialogue regarding the use of money and bribery in elections. These are the things that fail us from choosing the leaders we need and result in instability. So having clear objectives is important, and having a process that is facilitated neutrally. And this is going to would take some humility and trust on the part of President Museveni and his NRM party to trust some mutual facilitation and to be humble enough to admit that we need help to have a good dialogue. That you can't be the one who is controlling the dialogue, then there's no trust from your opposition. So these are some of the things you need to have. But it all will take courage on the part of the president and a genuine understanding that the positive things he has done can only be protected and taken forward when the process of replacing him is free and fair and predictable. Otherwise, if it's a forced and an illegitimate way of replacing him, we will fall back into more and more chaos. It won't be a solution.
May bring an impact or maybe for record. Can't you challenge this in the courts?
We have. By the way, Dr. Kizza Besigye has, I don't think it's ever happened before that there is a case, a criminal case against someone, and there's such a huge team of lawyers offering themselves for free, pro bono, to defend an individual charged with a criminal case. I don't think it's ever happened. There are more than 50 Ugandan lawyers who have offered themselves and are fighting his case. They are joined by lawyers from the region. They keep coming each time he's appearing, from Kenya, from Tanzania, from even as far as the Comoros. There are international lawyers behind this case, international human rights organizations putting themselves forward to support him, to fight his case, because they see the injustice of it and they see the political implications for Uganda and even for the region. So there's a lot of interest and a lot of support. He has applied for bail twice, and each time they are deflecting. And we know why. President Museveni himself has said openly that he must not be given bail. So the judges are interested in justice, but at the same time they think about their careers, because they are also appointed through a system that President Museveni influences. So they are unable to deliver justice, and so they keep deflecting. So, but I'm saying now it's too much. This is unacceptable. You can't have a man who's 69 years old, who is being held in, it's some kind of solitary confinement, because he's not allowed to talk to any other prisoners. He's not allowed to socialize with them, even to pray with them. And now he's been attacked by bed bugs. He's being bitten by bed bugs, and he has a right to bail. This is violation. This is undermining his health. This is humiliating him. This is persecution. It must stop. It must stop. That's a lie. The PFF has not chosen its candidate, and I cannot be offering myself as a PFF candidate even before they meet to decide who their candidates are. That's fake. The Besigye I know is open to dialogue. Why? Because he's a Democrat. And he has put himself out, dedicated himself to this struggle to give Ugandans a fair chance to choose their leaders, and he has been fighting on a democratic agenda of fighting poverty, achieving equality. So if there's dialogue, why won't he come to the table? Of course he would come to the table. But as I said, the dialogue needs to be intentional and needs to be credible, and that's the kind of dialogue we're asking for.
Well, maybe lastly from me is, to what extent has this incarceration broken his spirit? Because I know you've interfaced with him more closely than any of us. We know that we look at the new this guy. Has he changed? Is he even
I've met him twice this week. I went to see him on Monday. I saw him on Wednesday, and indeed, I've been here just to see him for a few days. Besigye will not break. His spirit will not break. He's a person who is, by his nature, a very determined person and very purposeful. He thinks, he decides what he wants to do, and he goes for it, and he's always ready to pay the price for what he believes is just and right. So he's not broken. In fact, people who visit him say that he motivates them, that's what I found. I found him, he's worried about his situation. He's not enjoying it, definitely not. He's worried about his condition, but definitely still resolute and asserting his innocence and ready to defend himself.
Recently we saw that President Museveni assented to the UPDF amendment, which is now the act. What does this mean? What do you think this means to Besigye's trial?
That was a sad day for Uganda. The day he signed that bill that is reversing a Supreme Court decision that the Constitution of Uganda protects civilians by not allowing them to be in military courts. That the Supreme Court read the Constitution and said Ugandan civilians should not be tried by the military. And he pays members of parliament money at night in cash, and they come before parliament and they pass a law reversing the Supreme Court, and then he assents to it. I have compared this to what we say in the Catholic faith. We have a sin we call sacrilege. That is a sin that's not forgivable. It is a very grave sin. It is really an assault on our Constitution. It's the most important assault, I think, we have had on our Constitution. It's a reversal of what we achieved for Uganda when we made the 1995 Constitution. I was a constitution maker. I felt hurt. Not because it has implications for my husband, which it could, but for our country, for our people, and for all those young people who are languishing in jail, like the 15 or so people who are with Besigye in the cell he's in, who've been there for 10 years, thrown there and forgotten on remand. So this has serious implications for many families, but also for the future of our country. Constitutionalism, rule of law, democracy. No, but let me say that being so challenged at a personal level, having to remain worried and concerned about what's happening next, how can we get Dr. Kizza Besigye released, has had its knock on me. I'm a human being, and I get low, I get upset, I get angry, and that spills over into my other work. I cannot deny that, but I do my best. It is what it is. It is what it is.
I asked you a question, and you said you engaged cabinet colleagues and ministers and some senior elders. At a personal level, have you totally cut off? Is there no connection between you and the president?
No, not at all. I always try to, first of all, I try not to personalize these things. Things are not going well in our country, but we have to deal with them as public issues and not personalize them. Indeed, I get quite surprised when people are questioning me about why are you talking to this one in the government? Why are you congratulating a soldier in the army? These are personal things. If somebody makes makes an achievement, I say congratulations. If somebody is sick, I say sorry you are sick. I do not personalize the issues, and I do not break off relationships with people who support NRM just because they support NRM. No, but I am angry at how my husband is being treated, and I'm not going to hide that. I'm saying it, I'm criticizing President Museveni, I'm calling on him to stop this persecution. But if I get an opportunity to speak to him, I'll speak to him. And if I meet him in a social event, I will not refuse to talk to him or shake his hand. No way. I'm not like that.
Maybe a follow-up just to
Yeah.
that. What are they saying?
No, they are not making much progress, obviously. They are not. In fact,
the wrong people. Because I know there are ministers who have never been seen the president. There are ministers and the presidential advisors who have never advised the president. So I would imagine maybe you're talking to those ones.
maybe, maybe. I don't know. But honestly, this issue of the imprisonment of Dr. Besigye seems to be very, very driven by the president himself. You saw him come out and challenge the Supreme Court ruling at a time when we were expecting that the ruling will result in the release of Kizza Besigye. We saw him how he spoke publicly about the case. You saw his son even saying he has fixed a date and a place where to hang him. So we are seeing, that there is a strong interest and a drive of how this case will be determined coming from the president and his son. This is very concerning. And that's why I'm saying it's political. And we need to find a political solution to this. This is not about a legal matter. Okay, thank you. When it comes to Dr. Besigye, every rule in the law books is being broken. It's really personal. It's persecution of an individual. From his abduction from Nairobi and bringing him across the border, breaching international laws, breaching national laws, to his being brought before a military court-martial when he's a civilian. Even in the military court itself, arresting his lawyer and convicting him and throwing him in jail without hearing him. All the rules are being broken. Then the Supreme Court says he should not be before the military court. He's not released. Instead, they keep imprisoning him without any charge. He has to go on hunger strike before they bring him to be charged. Then denying him bail. Bail is a right. It's not a privilege. It's not. He's been denied bail. He's due for mandatory bail after 6 months. They still deny it. They keep postponing, playing games. They've broken every rule, even to the point of bribing the members of parliament to reverse the Supreme Court ruling. That is really, if we were to use religious language, we would say that this is sacrilege. It's sacrilege for the executive, for the legislature, first for the executive to pay money at night to members of parliament, and for members of parliament to make a law that reverses a Supreme Court ruling. It can't get worse than that. So for everything concerning Dr. Kizza Besigye has been about breaking the law in order to fix him, to criminalize him. And it would be bad enough because if it was just about him. But it is really much, much worse because it's not just about him. He represents so many other prisoners who are languishing in jail, up to 10 years there, dumped there, and who've never been in a courtroom to defend themselves. And it also represents a direction of travel going away from constitutionalism, from rule of law, to arbitrariness.
I'm wondering what all the...
Okay, thank you. When it comes to Dr. Besigye, every rule in the law books is being broken. It's really personal. It's persecution of an individual. From his abduction from Nairobi and bringing him across the border, breaching international laws, breaching national laws, to his being brought before a military court-martial when he's a civilian. Even in the military court itself, arresting his lawyer and convicting him and throwing him in jail without hearing him. I mean, all the rules are being broken. Then the Supreme Court says he should not be before the military court. He's not released. Instead, they keep imprisoning him without any charge. He has to go on hunger strike before they bring him to be charged. Then denying him bail. Bail is a right. It's not a privilege. It's not. He's been denied bail. He's due for mandatory bail after 6 months. They still deny it. They keep postponing, playing games. They've broken every rule, even to the point of bribing the members of parliament to reverse the Supreme Court ruling. That is really, if we were to use religious language, we would say that this is sacrilege. It's sacrilege for the executive, for the legislature, first for the executive to pay money at night to members of parliament, and for members of parliament to make a law that reverses a Supreme Court ruling. I mean, it can't get worse than that. So for everything concerning Dr. Kizza Besigye has been about breaking the law in order to fix him, to criminalize him. And it would be bad enough because if it was just about him. But it is really much, much worse because it's not just about him. He represents so many other prisoners who are languishing in jail, up to 10 years there, dumped there, and who've never been in a courtroom to defend themselves. And it also represents a direction of travel going away from constitutionalism, from rule of law, to arbitrariness.
I'm wondering what all the national in Uganda.
The implication, sorry. The implications for Uganda are that we are first uncertain about the future. There's uncertainty about the future because there is not a regular, peaceful process of choosing leaders. That uncertainty creates, or let me say, dampens the economy. Ordinary people, entrepreneurs, foreign investors all fear to invest in a country whose future is not certain, where you see a bumpy road ahead. But secondly, we see and even more seriously, an increasing use of violence and force to drive the politics, to ensure political outcomes that the people in power want. So you see more, particularly young people who want to express themselves, who are angry about being unemployed, who are looking for their futures and not seeing them, being persecuted. We see young people being beaten, we see all those images, and that also drives more more capital flight, because those who are in the country trying to invest see the violence and take their money away. In fact, I was in Kenya recently, and I was very surprised to find that probably in the real estate sector, which is growing in Kenya, that the biggest investors are coming from Uganda and South Sudan. It tells you that Ugandans are themselves not feeling confident about their own economy and are taking their money and buying rental houses, apartments, whatever, in Kenya. So you see, it creates a cycle of unpredictable politics, forceful politics. Economy becomes slows because of that uncertainty. You get the political class, the bureaucratic class not trusting the future, becoming more and more corrupt. So one thing leads to another and we keep sinking. We need to get ourselves out of that, and we can.
You're talking of we need to get ourselves at the center of causing change. The electoral process, given the situation that we have in Uganda, do you think that the electoral process can be one of those ways?
Yes, the electoral process is the process we use to change leaders. And today, there is tension in the system because everyone can see that our president is getting older, has been in power for so many years, and there is a need for him to move on. And people see that. And you can see that in his party there's a stampede about who should lead. There is uncertainty about what's going to happen when he's no longer there. So yes, the electoral process is an important part of defining or shaping the kind of change that we can have. So I hope that answers your question.
Do you think that works? Do you think it can work in Uganda because the change? As if it has been tried several times and it is failing.
Well, if you don't change leadership through elections, then how do you change it? Through a military coup? That can never be a solution. That's a forced solution. And that doesn't ever produce the stability that a country needs. If you take power through the gun, then are you going to be removed also by a gun? Are you suggesting that we can depend on military coups for the future? I don't see another way except a democratic process.
Would you be willing to run in 2026?
I'm not interested. I'm more interested in solving the problem of this political stalemate, contributing to returning Uganda to a democratic path, but I'm not particularly interested in running in elections.
There are people that might think, probably be there thinking that we organize ourselves and then Byanyima is there.
I think that is too simplistic to think about X running and Y running. That's not going to solve the crisis we have today. I think we need to focus more on how do we create a fair process, a peaceful process, and not who is going to run in a rigged process because the outcome is determined. I know there are many people running and they should run, but I am more interested in trying to resolve the crisis that we are in rather than offering myself to run. There are many people trying to run anyway.
Just the last one in English. NUP, one of the have declared interest in participating in the elections, just like you said, it is the right way to go. But they come with what they call a protest vote. I don't know what you make of their intentions by saying, "Look, this is a protest vote, we go in this," you know. What do you make of them?
What is a protest vote? Protesting what? I'm asking. Protesting what? They are the ones who know. I think they should have an agenda of their own. They should be telling us what they want to do about the big problems that Uganda is facing. There's the democratic challenge, that our politics are not being managed fairly. There's the problem of human rights and violation of the rights of particularly opposition. There is the problems in the economy, that we have an economy that seems to be growing, but that doesn't produce jobs and incomes for young people. There is a problem of the management of our natural resources. These are real challenges, and we want to hear them on what they have to say about them. Protest means is a term meaning you're protesting something. What are they protesting? Would be more interested in knowing what do they stand for, what do they want to change, what's their agenda. Uganda sirumanyi.